Um, well, hello there, Siobhan McLean. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you, Becky. How are you?
I feel like I'm preparing for like one of these what matters conversations or something like that. I feel all social working all of a sudden, like I'm my practice educator and I'm having a direct obs.
Like we're going to be recorded.
Yeah, I'm going to be on my best behaviour. So some of the team have been doing these conversations, and tonight it's our turn, getting around to us. So I thought I would start off by asking you why you started the webinars.
Interesting you should ask that particular question, Becky, because I was thinking about this yesterday, because we've just gone into another big national lockdown, haven't we? And the first time we went into this big national lockdown, I saw on Twitter so many students saying, oh, I'm in a panic, my placement's been pulled, or I've been pulled out of my placement, or I don't know if I'm going to be going on placement. And as a practice educator, I felt almost kind of, if you think about crisis theory, the second stage of crisis theory, I think they call it recoil. And I felt almost paralyzed. I was almost like, well, what can I do? What can I do to help? I wanted to do something to help students that were in this really difficult situation. And I didn't know what I could do to help, because I thought, well, I can't go and provide a placement for everybody. What can I do? And the only thing I could come up with was, well, I could deliver some training for free for students. In the moment I was thinking I could do something about theory, I could do something about reflection, and that might help students who've not only lost their placements, but at the beginning were also losing lectures and everything, had nothing going on. So, but I don't have the technical skills, although they've improved. I didn't have the technical skills in terms of what can I do. So I just put a tweet out, I think it was a tweet that said, are there any students out there that want to help me do some webinars? And I think I even put in it, not that it would count for you because you're in Wales with the NOS instead, but I even put in it, it'll help you meet PCF domain 9, and professional leadership, because I was thinking it might encourage people to step forwards. And so I think that's how it all started. But it was very much because I wanted to be able to help people keep connected during the lockdown and give something back to the profession, because it's a profession that I love. I've been a social worker 30 years and I do love social work, and it was almost like sometimes you just want to give back to people you love, don't you? And I wanted to give something that I thought, what can I give? And that was what I thought I could give. So
Because
that's
you'd already started, because I remember you'd opened up, like the website. I remember emailing you and you'd kind of said to students, like, if you're struggling, email me directly, and as long as you've got, like a uni email or something like that. So you'd already kind of started doing that. So we were accessing some of your resources then, because you'd said you can kind of access these till September, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I've extended it and people are still accessing it now for free, because I'd forgotten I'd done that before the webinars, actually. Yeah, so I did that first, probably because I thought, well, I know I can provide that, whereas webinars, I thought, I can't do that, I'll never be able to do that. I'd attended a couple of webinars at the start and I thought, I haven't got the technical skills to do that. So I suppose I didn't realize I could do that at that point. So yeah, I started with that. So what made you want to get involved in the webinars then? You obviously saw the tweet, did you?
Yeah, I'd so I was one of those students that was spiraling. Really, I think I'd just come to the end, well, not officially to the end of my second year, but I only had like a few days left on my 80-day placement. So in Wales we do 20 days in the first year and then 80 days second year and 100 days final year. So I'd literally kind of finished it with a few days to spare, as in I was in a prison setting and they'd sent us all home. They just said, no more unless you work here as a prison guard, nobody can be in here. So we'd all kind of been sent home, but it didn't impact my placement because I literally had done everything that I needed to do, as in formally for my portfolio. I just needed to tie it all together, and the last few days were going to be sort of goodbyes and nice things with my practice educator and tying up loose ends sort of thing. And but then I'd kind of spiraled because it had just ended, and all this excitement that had built up about, when your placement ends, then we were going to go back into uni for a few lectures and see all our you know, friends and our cohort and talk about that, and then nothing happened, and then no lectures happened because uni didn't know, and nobody knew what to do, did they? But we were kind of sat at home going, oh, and I still had like an essay to write, I think my final essay, and I just remember just thinking, well, I just sat at my dining room table a lot of the time just going, well, I don't know what I'm meant to be doing. So I'd kind of started engaging on Twitter a little bit more, and like you said, there was lots of other kind of students, and then and I just saw your tweet one day, and it wasn't because I'm not especially techie myself either, but I just kind of thought, well, I'm sure that if we have a chat, there's something I can do, and and that's kind of how I got involved, really, just by answering your tweet and just saying, right, because I was sitting sort of thinking, I don't know what to do with myself, and I need to do something and keep my hand in with, you know, sort of social work and my studies while everybody else figures out what they're going to do.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, when we came together, none of us were very techie, were we? We just did what social workers do and kind of problem solved it and worked it out between us, and we had a practice run, didn't we? And we so yeah, I don't think any of us had that.
I know. I remember texting like some of my cohorts and my friends going, give me your email address and can you come along to this? I was like, it'll be really good, I hope.
Yeah. I remember now, that's what we said, didn't we? Everybody on the team could invite 2 friends to a practice run through of the first session. Yeah, I remember.
Couldn't get in, so we had like those issues of like people were like, I don't know if I can't get in and blah blah blah, but yeah, no, it was good. Yeah.
And we worked it out, didn't we? So yeah, that was fun, actually.
I'm still not the techie one. I'm still not the techie one, but you know.
No, but you do great visuals. Great visuals for social media. So
yeah. So, okay, so because we did 26, didn't we? So which one has been your favourite? Have you got a favourite webinar?
Now, I knew you were going to ask me that question, but I didn't prepare an answer. And actually thinking about it, it's really hard because in lots of ways I could almost say, well, this was my favourite one for this reason, and this was my favourite one for that reason. So there's something about all of them that was my favourite, if you know. So my first one, we did the theory fear factor first, didn't we? That was one of my favorites because it went so well. I was really nervous at the beginning, you know, and it did go really well. I've loved having friends along as guests. So, you know, I loved having Yusuf along, talk about his artwork, and I've loved having Annie along. And I think I've enjoyed, because I think what we've done is we've built a bit of a community and a bit of a platform, and I've really liked the fact that we've been able to give that platform to voices that matter in social work. So I think the anti-racist practice one is probably one of my favourites because I think it was so timely and so important and really started some very important conversations. So, you know, I've enjoyed the panel ones. I like the fact that we've now tried to develop a bit of a, you know, we've got some back to basics and some panel ones and some guest ones and some skills ones. So it's really hard to identify a favourite. So do you have a favourite?
I've got 2. Yeah, I mean, okay. I've got loads, but I've got 2, and I've got 2 for like very different reasons as well. So I think my first one's pretty obvious. So my first one was the art of analysis back in July, and partly because I wasn't going to attend that one because I can't remember where I'd been, but you know, we'd all kind of said about availability, and that was a date that I didn't think I was going to be available. And then somebody was poorly on the day, and I'd come back from wherever I was, like literally, and it's in like the little WhatsApp chat, and I was like, oh, okay, you know, like I can make it, it'll be fine. And we all had to wear hats.
Yeah.
Remember when we put all the hats on, and I could only find a bobble hat, and it was in summer, it was in July when it was baking, and I could only find like a bobble hat. So I was there with this baking hot day with like my bobble hat on. But yeah, I liked it for lots of reasons. I liked it because it introduced me to Yusuf, and he'd been really kind, and he sent you some artwork and you'd shared it with us. But then I think so. Learning wise, I got quite a lot out of that six hats. De bonus, I don't know how to pronounce it, but de bonus and those hats and that kind of critical thinking. I think but just listening to Yusuf and his message, and I think I've written about it a few times, but I've kind of sometimes I'll just have these light bulb moments and they just stick and they just go in my head. And his sort of expression about be the difference like just made sense to me, and I was like, oh, okay, right, I get that, right. And that's just one thing that I've really got. And he's just been lovely ever since, and he's just been a real connection. And every so often he'll just pop up, and he sent me a card completely out of the blue a little while ago, and like a little tag, and I'll keep it with me, a little label in my bag and stuff like that. And he's just a real, I've really connected with him because of his words and what he had to say. And I think a lot of the content in that, you talked about Temple Grandin as well, and like her style of learning. And because I've always had an interest in my previous career, I've worked a lot with people with autism and learning disabilities, so I'd read a lot of her books and stuff. And I'd never really thought that we were going to really talk about Temple Grandin in that either, so that kind of stuck with me a bit, because I was like, oh, I know a bit about that and stuff. And I could relate it to me being a visual learner, so that was a big one. But then my second one was for a completely different reason, and it was the webinars we had about assessments with Surviving Safeguarding with Annie. And I wasn't particularly proud of that in a way, because I had to leave halfway through because I got very upset because Annie made everybody think that she was going to turn the camera and pick out one of us for a question. She basically sort of, I can't remember the exact scenario, but she was like, think of something that you're really ashamed of, or you feel guilty about, you don't want to talk about, or whatever, because I'm going to come to one of you in a minute and I'm going to put you on the spot and I'm going to ask you. And I could feel my heart beating, because I thought something and I was thinking, I don't know if I'm going to be honest about this. If she comes to me, I don't know whether I'm going to tell the truth. And if I do, what am I going to do? Because I know we've got lots of people watching and I don't know if I want to share that. And I just really felt everything. And then she was talking about something quite poignant about her, life story, and that really struck a chord with me. And it really, really upset me to the point where I was like, my camera was off anyway, and and I was still doing things in the background, but I was like, I think I need to leave. I don't actually think I can handle this. And I got really, really upset. And I think so, but it's my favorite because, again, it's really stuck with me about, that importance of when I'm asking questions as a social worker, and if I'm going to be making assessments, like how delicate you've got to be, because people are really sharing things which are really difficult to talk about sometimes. And I think I've just got a different understanding of like why somebody might not want to be truthful with me. It's not, I don't know if that's kind of coming across in the way that it's intended, but it really struck a chord. So they're my two sort of favourite, or because of just the impact they've had, really.
I think it's really interesting, isn't it? I'm big into connections, and it's sometimes it's confused people, because I think I've called everything connection in some way, so people think they're all the same things. But what connects those two favourite webinars is they were both led, if you like, by people with lived experience. So in a way, I suppose it's about the strength of the voice of the people that we should seek to support as social workers. And I think that's such an important part of our learning as social workers. And that's why I've wanted to try and always promote that within the webinar. So it's really interesting to hear that those two were your favourite, really. So it kind of connects the two together, doesn't it, really? So
yeah, because I think obviously I've learned loads. I think everybody, there's always something I've learned every week, and I've had like a little light bulb moment every week. But those two particularly, really stuck with me for quite a long time. And I think, I'm quite a reflective person sometimes, but I think it's kind of good to get upset sometimes about things and just be kind of like honest. And that one really, really upset, really like upset me. But I was kind of like, okay, well,
yeah.
That's what it is, and I'll take away the learning from that, isn't it? So
yeah, I think going outside of our comfort zones often is where we learn the most, really, isn't it? So yeah,
you just have to confront yourself, don't you? So I've forgotten what. Oh yeah, so we've got a new season. We've got very Americanized, haven't we, with our seasons?
Oh, yeah.
Season.
Sounds like Netflix or something.
But people can't binge watch this time, can they? Because you've got to watch it.
No.
So we've got a few webinars. We've got more than a few. We've got quite a lot of webinars planned for the future. So have you got a favourite one that's going to be coming up that you want to talk about?
Yeah, that's going to be tough again, isn't it? Because I can't. It's like a parent can't pick a favourite child in a way, isn't it? I'm like, I can't pick a favourite one that we've had, and I can't pick a favourite one coming up. I suppose there's different things again, aren't there? I'm really looking forward to the first one back because we're going to be introducing new team members, and I'm very excited about that, about expanding the team. So that's great. Although I'm really challenged by, it seemed like a really good idea at the time when I said, I was so busy when we said what's going to be the first one back. And we knew it was a back to basics one because we like the back to basics. So I just thought, oh, just call it Back to the Future. And then it seemed like a really good idea at the time. But now, across the whole of Christmas, I've been thinking, well, what do I do in a Back to the Future? I've never even watched the film. I've had to watch the film. So it's going to be a challenge. I did watch it. Yeah, I watched it. So I'm looking forward to that one, but I'm also a bit wary and a bit nervous about the content because I've really had to put lots of thinking into about what I want that one to cover. So I suppose I'm looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to the panel ones. We've got quite a few panel ones coming up, and I think we've got some really interesting guests coming up. But I think, like you said, you got really upset listening to Annie and it really challenged you. Then there's somebody that I've just admired so much in terms of social work, but also her writing has made me laugh. It's made me cry. It's brought everything really alive for me. And that's Dr. Sarah Ryan and her son Connor Sparrowhawk. I'm sure you'll know the Connor's story. And she's going to share us for the webinar on love in social work, which we've put close to Valentine's Day. And I think because I think love is so important in social work, but because I was so moved by Connor's story and I've been so moved by the work that Sarah's done, and although we've had lots of contact on Twitter and we've had lots of email contact and things like that, we've never actually met. And although we're not going to meet in person, we're going to meet on Zoom. So I'm actually really looking forward, I think, to that webinar and actually the privilege of meeting Sarah. And that every time I read the book, it's on the shelf behind me. Every time I watch the video, The Story of Laughing Boy, it upsets me, it captures me, but in a way that really brings the importance of social work home. So I think that's the one I'm probably looking forward to the most.
I'm looking forward to that one too, because I got her book a little while ago, and when it was released and stuff, and it's quite, I might get upset at that one too.
Yeah, absolutely.
What
about you? Which one are you looking forward to most?
Wow, you've always been, really encouraging with us as a team, and just kind of said, if we've got any ideas, if we've got any thoughts, we can bring them. So I rather naively was like, well, I've got this idea, and you went, all right, then go with it, didn't you? And now it's only a couple of weeks away, and now I'm thinking, oh, right, better organise it then. So on the 20th, it's a bit of a shameless plug, but it's not going to be my webinar. I don't see it as that, but we're calling it Men in Social Work, just because I'm just curious. I'm really curious about how male social workers are perceived when they're working in child protection or with children and families. If social work is still considered to be a mainly female role because women are meant to be more empathic or caring or nurturing or whatever. And so I've approached a selection of different student social workers, academics, different, just a broad mix of men that are involved in social work in some ways, and I've just asked them to come along and talk. So it will be like a panel one. There'll be loads of educational input, I'm sure, I hope. I'll do some background research quickly after this, but Yeah, but I think that's the part of some of the webinars as well, like you said before, we're mixing it up a little bit, and there's things generally that I still, it's a question, it's just a thought. I'm kind of like, oh, is it? So yeah, I'm going to be interested because I know a few of them. I've got to know a few of them, and one of them, he's a social worker, but he works in a school in Northern Ireland, and he's really trying to roll out, social workers becoming, more common and actually being based in schools. And what he's been doing is, so interesting to me, and it makes sense. And I'm like, well, why aren't there social workers in all the schools? So hopefully that's just like one of them, and he'll have a little chat with us about that and stuff. But
yeah, I'm excited for that one too as well. I think it'll be interesting.
I hope so.
Yeah,
We'll get it sorted.
okay.
Yeah, so that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm getting to the team now. Like the new team members, and just some new faces, and seeing what that brings, really.
Yeah, I'm glad we're extending the team, because I do think whilst, when I put that tweet out, there was an idea for 3 or 4 webinars or something, and here we are, like you say, we've done 26. We've got plans for, we could carry on forever, really. There's nothing to stop us. There's so much that we need to think about in social work and cover in social work, and that we're getting contacted from all over in terms of what the webinars are offering for people. And I think, we're going, and basically we started them in the first lockdown. We're picking them up again after a short break, going into the second lockdown. And I think there's, there's so much potential, really. So having an extended team, that means that now that Chris and Kat are working and qualified, and, you're on placement, and just all the placement challenges and things, it means that people don't have to come to everyone, but that we've got a huge input from an extended team. So I'm really looking forward to the new season, like you say, sounding very American and very Netflix.
And it started already, because as soon as there was a tweet that went out the other day, wasn't there, about Back to the Future, and his, there's a link. People just started asking straight away. I've answered quite a few messages on Instagram today instantly, like, can I have the link, so the interest is there already. And I'd kind of forgotten, it's been nice to have like a little break, but all of a sudden, my Instagram was going ping ping ping, and the phone was going, oh right, okay, here we go then. Snap back into it fairly quickly, I think. But the interest is there, and that's really nice. Lots of people going, oh, hope you've had a nice rest, but I'm glad you're back. So yeah, that'll be nice to see some familiar faces, and find out what they're having for tea.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to going back and finding out what people are having for the tea. After Christmas, though, I'll be definitely having celery and salad for tea. Honestly, I've put so much weight on. So we best stop there, though, haven't we? Well, it's been great chatting with you as ever, Becky, and we'll see you all soon. Thanks for watching.